Have you ever heard of a world where children will never leave? There are beautiful natural landscapes, just like in fairy tales. Children will not have to listen to their parents praying to each other every morning to wake them up to go to school, and do not have to do what adults force them to do. Here, children can just play innocently or freely fly around. That is the world of Neverland, a place that anyone wants to visit even just once. In London, Darlene's family is preparing their luggage to leave for America tomorrow. At this time, Wendy and her two younger brothers, John and Michael, are playing happily. The two children are enthusiastically exchanging tricks when they accidentally break a mirror. When their father hears the noise, he runs up to question who broke the mirror. Wendy immediately puts all the responsibility on her two younger brothers. Her father knows who did it, so he tells Wendy to quickly take out the wooden sword and says that she is too old to play like this. After his father went downstairs, John immediately asked Wendy why she was so old and yet so dirty. A moment later, the mother went upstairs to advise the two boys and then advised Wendy to be a good example for her younger siblings. Wendy said that she did not want to grow up, but her mother said that no one could escape the law of birth, aging, and illness. Late that night, when the three children were sleeping soundly, the fairy Tinkerbell appeared from somewhere and flew to Wendy's bed. Tinkerbell blew fairy dust on Wendy, causing her to float in the air. But just as Tinkerbell was about to take Wendy away, the brown fairy was caught by John because he thought it was a firefly. However, after looking closely, the children realized that it was a fairy. At that moment, Peter Pan pointed his sword behind everyone's back, scaring everyone. They were extremely shocked when they discovered that Peter Pan was real and not in a fairy tale. It turned out that Peter came here to catch his shadow that was always running around. Seeing that, everyone helped him. After a while, Peter finally caught it in his leg. Seeing a handsome guy coming to the house, Wendy immediately acted like a lady and took a needle to help him sew the shadow back up. But Wendy accidentally stabbed Peter in the leg with the needle, making him scared and hide in the corner. While talking, Wendy was quite surprised when Peter knew her real name. It turned out that Peter's purpose of coming here, besides catching the shadow, was to fulfill Wendy's wish to take her to the world of Neverland. After hearing the advertisement that there were no school rules or parents praying every morning, all three children immediately nodded in agreement without fear. Standing outside the window, Wendy asked Peter how to fly. He said that he had a magic powder that he could fly by sprinkling on himself. Sure enough, right after Tinkerbell sprinkled the fairy powder on them, the three children were able to float in the air together. They happily flew around the city a few times. The dog below didn't understand what was happening, but was suddenly pulled along by the children. Peter Pan led the children to fly through the clock of the Big Bang Tower. It turned out that this was the space gate that helped them reach the beautiful world of Neverland. They saw glowing mermaids swimming happily in the sea. The children happily flew everywhere to visit and learn, not knowing that they had been seen by pirates. He immediately swung down on a rope to inform Captain Hook. He told Hook that Peter Pan was flying nearby. Hook didn't like anyone calling Peter Pan's name in front of him because it was Peter who had caused one of his hands to be eaten by a crocodile. From then on, Hook hated Peter very much. Hook swore he would never forgive Peter. After confirming that it was Peter, Hook immediately ordered his men to fire cannons at the children. Wendy flew and was almost hit by Hook's bullet. Seeing that, Peter grabbed Wendy's hand and led the other two to hide behind a cliff. However, Hook still fired. Because he had been fighting Hook for thousands of years, Peter asked everyone to trap Hook, but before they could do anything, a cannonball hit them, sending them all flying away. Wendy drifted to the shore. When she woke up, Wendy couldn't see anyone. Because the fairy dust was gone, Wendy had no choice but to run to find her siblings. Wendy accidentally met Princess Lily and the kidnapped children. Wendy introduced herself to Lily in a friendly manner. One of them recognized Wendy as the one who knew the stories that Peter wanted to find before going to bed. They thought Wendy was fake, so they attacked Wendy, scaring her. Luckily, Princess Lily stopped her in time. Wendy said that she, Peter Pan, and her two brothers were attacked by Captain Hook, so now they were lost. The children then used a telescope made from tree bark to observe and discovered that John and Michael had been captured by the sea scorpions. On this side, Hook interrogated the two boys about how they could get to Neverland. The two children refused to tell, making Hook very angry. So right after finding a watch in John's pocket, Hook got angry. Knowing that Peter Pan would come to save the children, Hook ordered the crew to move to the Skull Rock to set traps there. Looking at the direction of the ship, Lily also understood what the sea scorpions intended to do. So she and her teammates prepared weapons and set off to rescue the two children. At this time, Hook had entered the cave below the Skull Rock. This was where Hook executed prisoners by starving them until they turned into dried corpses. John and his brother were scared when they saw this. Regardless of whether the children confessed or not, they hung both of them on a large rock and sentenced them to death for their involvement with Peter Pan. While the pirates were happily celebrating, Hook suddenly felt that something was a bit wrong. Hook remembered that the group had 11 people, but there were 12 people here, and the 12th person was Peter Pan in disguise. Although he had the appearance of a child, he had an extremely brave fighting ability. Peter made all the enemies fall into the sea, but the pirates refused to give up. They kept climbing up and then being kicked into the sea. After dealing with the pirates, Peter flew onto the ship to fight Hook. One side held the heavenly sword, the other side held the dragon saber, and fought each other. Taking advantage of that opportunity, Wendy and Princess Lily tried to break the chains for John and his brother but failed. Luckily, Tinkerbell flew over and used magic to help. On this side, the fight was still very fierce. Both sides slashed back and forth, neither willing to give in. With the help of the shadow, Peter humiliated Hook by taking his hat. However, Peter was distracted when he saw that Wendy was still alive. Hook took the opportunity to attack the shadow, causing Peter to fall headfirst. Just when Peter was in danger, Wendy shouted that in London, gentlemen never harm children. After saying that, Hook turned around and was about to deal with Peter when a giant crocodile suddenly appeared. The crocodile angrily attacked Hook. Luckily, Hook's subordinates arrived in time to save him. In front of such a ferocious monster, all living beings are equal. The evil Hook pushed his subordinates into the sea to block the crocodile's path. Hook ran outside. Because this crocodile was so big, it could not fit through the cave mouth. Peter won and stood on the rock, howling in defiance, making Hook extremely angry. Hook vowed to kill Peter. After many storms, Peter received a slap from Wendy. Because Peter dared to take danger as fun, Peter said that as long as he was there, everyone would be absolutely safe. Wendy asked what about the story of the group almost being eaten by the crocodile. Wendy asked if Peter and Captain Hook were friends, but Peter denied it, making Wendy angry and leave with Princess Lily. That night, the three sisters went to the house of the missing children to rest. Here, the children wanted Wendy to tell a story before bed, but she asked Peter to tell her how he came to Neverland and what made him fight with Hook. She also asked about the parents of the missing children. Peter said that the children in Neverland had no parents. Wendy replied that she had a happy family and that the parents of the boys must miss them very much. When hearing this, Peter suddenly got angry and left. He said that if he returned to his family, the adventure would end. They would grow up and lose their youth. At this time, Wendy sang a lullaby to put the children to sleep. Unexpectedly, her singing could reach Peter and Captain Hook's ears. Hook said that he had heard this singing somewhere before. After the children fell asleep, Tinkerbell led Wendy to a room. It used to belong to Captain Hook, but now belonged to Peter. When they opened the door, they saw Peter sitting alone. She went to talk to him, but Peter flew up to the roof. He said that he and Hook used to be best friends. They both happily traveled around together. One day, Hook left Neverland. When Hook returned, he had become an evil and wicked person. So Peter wanted Wendy to stay so that she would not become like Hook. She said that they could not leave their family. Wendy left the room and found her brother, and the children had been controlled by Hook. Hook even had someone capture her. Hook then went up to the room that used to belong to him. Peter hid upstairs and tried to attack by surprise, but Hook was too vigilant and slashed Peter in the chest. Peter was scared and said that he didn't like this adventure anymore and slipped and fell down. Tinkerbell quickly flew to save Peter but was caught in a bag. Wendy and everyone else were horrified to see Peter fall freely to the floor. Peter was then captured by pirates. Peter's shadow escaped from his body and ran to find Princess Lily. Meanwhile, Hook questioned Wendy about where the song came from. She said she didn't know. She only knew that it was a song her mother used to sing to her when she was little. She also frankly told Hook's past. Hook left Neverland, and when he returned, he became a despicable villain. Hook said that Peter had banished him because he missed his mother and wanted to go home. Hook was lost at sea for many days and was fortunately saved by Smee. Under the care of pirates, Hook later became the captain. Hook returned here to find Peter, but he realized that he was too old, and his thinking was very different from before. Hook decided to execute the children to avoid trouble, but Wendy quickly stopped him. She asked to die instead of them, and she wanted Hook to raise the children to become pirates. It sounded quite absurd absurd but very convincing, so Hook immediately agreed and sent someone to take Wendy to the execution place. On this side, Princess Lily was actively treating Peter. After waking up, Peter decided to go save everyone, but without Tinkerbell's fairy dust, Peter was just a normal child who could not fly. Meanwhile, Wendy was forced onto a wooden table. Facing death, she thought about the good things with her family. However, Hook still wanted to kill her. At the critical moment, Tinkerbell suddenly burst out of her cage and quickly flew to save Wendy. Hook angrily asked why she had Peter's magic. She said that this magic did not belong to anyone. After saying that, the whole ship suddenly flew up from the water, causing the pirates to panic. It turned out that Tinkerbell had secretly covered the entire ship with fairy dust. Hook tried to calm his men down, but they had never flown before, so they were very scared. At that moment, Peter and Princess Lily rode their horses. He jumped from the cliff to the bottom of the ship. The two enemies, who were not in the same group, faced each other again. While they were fighting, Wendy cut the sail, causing it to fall and cover everyone. The freed children immediately fought the pirates. Lily saw this and joined in. Even though the enemy was bigger, the children did not show any fear. On the contrary, they fought very bravely. Wendy fought 3 people alone, and she was able to easily defeat them. While everyone was fighting, they accidentally struck the rudder, causing the ship to deviate. Just as the ship was about to crash into the cliff, John and his brother discovered it in time and successfully steered the ship to save everyone from death. Inside the cabin, Hook was still enthusiastically chasing Peter. Unexpectedly, Hook was put a crocodile head on his face. After a while, Hook was able to remove the crocodile head. Despite the ship tilting, the two still fought fiercely. The pirates were caught off guard and fell into the sea. Wendy and Princess Lily tried to control the ship's force to make it theirs. On this side, Hook accidentally broke through the wooden floor and fell down. The vicious Hook dragged Peter down with him to death. However, Wendy was there in time to successfully save him. Having regained the ability to fly, Peter once again had to solo Hook. After winning, Peter immediately put down his weapon and apologized for being a bad friend. After hearing that, Hook suddenly froze for 5 seconds. However, Hook did not agree to forgive, so he pulled out his sword and slashed Peter. Luckily, Wendy stopped him in time. Below, the pirates fired cannons, causing the ship to shake. Hook lost his balance and fell, but Peter quickly pulled him back. Peter told Hook to think of good things instead of hatred. At that moment, Hook's hand slipped, causing Hook to fall. Peter hugged his arm and felt sorry for his best friend. Wendy came over to comfort him and said that it was time for everyone to go home. So Peter took everyone to Wendy's house in London. When she saw her mother, she ran over and hugged her tightly and apologized. At this time, Wendy's mother heard a strange noise in the room. Wendy's father also heard it, so he went in to check. It turned out that the missing children were here. Even though they were not related by blood, Wendy's parents still decided to adopt them and consider them their own. At the end of the movie, Peter says goodbye to everyone and returns to Neverland. The movie ends here. Goodbye and see you again.